Welcome back to The Explainer. Let's just jump right in, because today we are breaking down something truly incredible. It's a highly technical, patent-pending roadmap put together by Lázaro López Paz. And look, I want to be crystal clear right up front. This is absolutely not science fiction. We are going to dive deep into a meticulously calculated, scientifically grounded blueprint for harvesting helium-3. That is the holy grail of clean fusion energy. We're talking real numbers here. The exact math, precise hardware lists, and a literal, step-by-step financial transition plan to take humanity from mining the dirt on the moon to directly capturing the solar wind itself.
Here is the 6-part roadmap we'll be following. 1. The 21st century resource. 2. Lunar infrastructure and materials. 3. Budgets, costs, and logistics. 4. The L1 megastructure, solar wind. 5. Operational and geopolitical risks. And finally, 6. The final strategic transition.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the 21st century resource, the ultimate fuel. So, the big question we have to ask ourselves right away is, how do we actually realistically harvest the universe's ultimate clean energy? Helium-3 is literally the strategic resource of our era. It is absolutely critical for next-generation clean nuclear fusion, not to mention pushing quantum computing forward. But the engineering challenge here, it's profound. We have to move out of the realm of theoretical wouldn't it be nice and look at a mathematically sound, fully budgeted reality.
To put the current situation into perspective, look at this completely staggering bottleneck, $20 million. Yep, $20 million. That is roughly what it cost for just a single kilogram of helium-3 on the 2026 market when extrapolated to fusion scale. Because it's so incredibly rare here on Earth, this astronomical price tag is severely throttling fusion research. It's a massive roadblock. We need a huge influx of supply, and Earth simply can't give it to us.
Moving right along to Section 2, lunar infrastructure and materials.
This is where we get into the immediate, near-term solution, the moon. And honestly, this part of López Paz's plan brilliantly highlights its granular, strict pragmatism. Get a load at the specific hardware mapped out for the lunar South Pole. We aren't dealing with vague concepts here. The document specifically mandates 20 autonomous silt excavators, 8 resonant microwave ovens to superheat the regolith to 700 to 800 degrees Celsius, and 6 specialized cryogenic systems operating at an ultra-cold threshold of under 50 millikelvin. That's for the isotopic purification. For power, 8 10-kilowatt reactors to keep things running during the long lunar nights. Oh, and the base also needs 500 tons of 3D printed support structures made directly from lunar dust. The absolutely crucial takeaway here, most of this tech is already sitting at a technology readiness level of 5 to 8. We literally already know how to build the vast majority of this.
Okay, so how does this actually become a reality? Let's walk through the timeline. This is a rigorous, tightly budgeted 60-month chronological escalation. Months 1 through 6, that's your initial deployment of robots and power modules. Then months 7 through 18 are totally focused on assembling the processing plant and doing those 3D printed structures. After that, commissioning and testing dominate months 19 through 36. And finally, from month 37 up to 60, the facility reaches an actual operational production phase, aiming for an initial yield of 5 to 10 kilograms of helium-3 per year.
Section 3, Budgets and Logistics, the cost breakdown.
Let's lift the hood and look at the financial engine driving this entire roadmap. Getting this mega project off the ground is not cheap. The initial capital expenditure and R&D investment is steep. We're looking at an estimated 10,000 to 15,000 million USD. So, 10 to 15 billion dollars. It's a colossal upfront money sink for sure, but it's mathematically necessary if we want to escape Earth's gravity well.
But, how do you physically transport all that heavy hardware up there? The logistics of this rely entirely on next-gen heavy-lift architecture. The roadmap specifically calculates a need for 80 to 120 SpaceX Starship launches between 2026 and 2030. When you consider Starship's massive payload capacity of 100 to 150 tons per flight and a target cost of just $10 to $15 million per launch, Starship is literally the exact variable that makes this heavy lunar logistics pipeline mathematically and financially viable.
Next up in the financial pipeline is the lunar assembly and operation phase itself. To prevent operational budgets from just completely spiraling out of control in the harsh, highly radioactive environment of the lunar South Pole, the plan is incredibly smart. It relies heavily on deploying swarms of autonomous repair robots that are driven by AI predictive maintenance, all working alongside radiation-hardened components. This effectively minimizes the need for continuous, wildly expensive human intervention on the surface.
So what does all this massive investment physically yield? Well, initially, like we said, the target is 5 to 10 kilograms.
but that scales up to between 20 and 50 kilograms of helium-3 per year as the facility really matures into the 2030s. This right here is the critical pivot point. It's the moment the project transitions from being a heavy financial sink into an actual lucrative working production facility.
And here is the financial payoff we've been waiting for. That early lunar production will yield highly lucrative returns. The sheer volume drops the production cost and effectively the market price down to between $80,000 and $350,000 per kilogram. By supplying the fusion and quantum tech markets at these new rates, it generates the immense, self-sustaining revenue needed to fund the final, and definitely the most ambitious, phase of this expansion.
Which brings us to Section 4, L1 Solar Wind, the megastructure.
Now we pivot. We're looking at the truly visionary but still entirely scientifically grounded second half of this project, moving beyond the moon to Lagrange point 1. Let's just compare the two methods directly for a second. Lunar mining, it's basically a brute force approach. The regolith only contains something like 1 to 15 parts per billion of helium-3. You literally have to bulldoze and process around 150 million tons of dirt just to get 1 single kilogram. Contrast that with the solar wind approach. It is elegant, high-purity physics. It relies on the direct magnetic deflection of pure ions right in the vacuum of deep space.
Let me explain exactly how that high-purity physics actually works. Parked 1.5 million kilometers away from Earth at L1, safely outside our planet's magnetosphere, this proposed megastructure uses massive superconducting coils to generate a powerful magnetic field. Now, because helium ions have a very specific magnetic rigidity, that field selectively deflects them onto a collector sheet and then funnels them into a traveling wave direct energy converter, or TWDEC. The pure ions are then neutralized and cryogenically separated, absolutely zero bulldozers required.
The end result of this? Capturing solar wind at scale fundamentally breaks the market in the best way possible. It drops the projected cost of helium-3 to an astonishing $25,000 to $60,000 per kilogram. That is it. That is the endgame price tag that unlocks truly limitless clean energy for our entire planet.
Section 5, Geopolitical Risks and Operations.
We absolutely must maintain strict scientific rigor here, and that means we have to address the real-world risks that could derail a project of this magnitude. On the technical side, the TWDEC system faces what's called a space charge risk, which is essentially beam expansion. But the document mathematically mitigates this using Lab 6 electron injectors alongside strong magnetic focusing. Geopolitically, though, there are immense risks of disputes over lunar territory. Potential blockades between the Artemis Accord nations and the China-Russia ILRS bloc are flagged as a very high-impact threat. Navigating that is going to require some very aggressive multilateral diplomacy.
Looking impartially at the current global landscape, the roadmap actually identifies the specific aerospace and energy entities that have the capabilities today to execute this multi-decade project. You've got SpaceX handling heavy launches and Star Factory orbital capabilities, Blue Origin and Airbus stepping up for cryogenics and pressurized modules, Helion Energy for the TW deck and fusion reactors, and China's CNSA for advanced lunar robotics. No single nation or corporation holds all the puzzle pieces, but collectively, the tools to do this exist right now.
Finally, Section 6, Strategic Transition, the final plan. To pull all of this together into one cohesive vision, Lopez Paz outlines a strict 3-step master plan. Step 1 is Priority 1. From 2026 to 2030, we see aggressive investment in the complete lunar infrastructure. Step 2 runs parallel to this. It's a long-tail R&D track focused heavily on developing better superconductors and advancing orbital manufacturing. And then Step 3 is the ultimate transition, mapped for 2030 to 2040, leveraging the massive profits and the operational lessons learned from the moon to fund, build, and scale up that L1 solar wind megastructure.
As the foundational document plainly states, and I'll read the translation for you here, this transition will allow production to increase by 2 orders of magnitude, making helium-3 the ultimate clean nuclear fusion fuel. That right there is the core thesis. You use the moon as the practical, financial, and technological stepping stone to unlock the truly limitless potential of the sun itself.
Which leaves us with this final burning thought. We have the exact material breakdowns, we have the strict financial budgets mapped out, and we have the proven physics. The roadmap is, for all intents and purposes, mathematically validated. So the real question is humanity ready to put aside its geopolitical divisions and actually fund its ultimate leap into the solar wind? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.